The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, UNU Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Yes, hello everybody, welcome my friends, welcome everybody to episode number 3 of All You Can Eat. All You Can Eat, I'm Robert Rosenthal, I'm coming to you live, I love being live, from New York City, New York, with the current weather is ugly. I mean, I think the official meteorological description would be gross. Kind of stormy out there, like Stormy Daniels. That's what it is. That's the weather tonight. Stormy Daniels. It's the kind of weather where you don't really want to be outside. You want to be outside of New York. This is why people who can move out of here over the winter for exactly the kind of day that we have today. I am super excited that you're here with me tonight because we got a lot of stuff to cover. I changed the name, by the way. You know, it's only episode number 3, but it only took me 2 episodes to realize there's a better name than the Hot Lunch program, and it is All You Can Eat, because this is a podcast about, you know, eating and drinking and food and cooking and going out and everything related to food. So let me tell you what's on the agenda for tonight, because we've got a lot of stuff to cover. And one is the subject of tipping. I mean, it came up, it's been bugging me. And then it came up in some kind of social media context, and I thought, it's time that we talk about tipping because it's changed, and I don't know if it's changed for the better. But let's get into tipping in a little bit. The other thing, another subject for tonight is because I'm coming to you from New York, where I've been pretty much all of my life. I caught an article within the last week or so on the essential New York City foods. Now, the article includes 100 essential New York City foods. I think we're going to cover maybe 10 or 15 of them. And then let's talk about what really is essential. And if you are interested, get in touch with me. I'm going to take you for a tour of New York City foods. I just like that idea. Third subject tonight, as always, I am the Costco Ho. I will make my weekly recommendation of what you can get at Costco. And boy, did I find a doozy this week. Did I fall in love with something this week at Costco? It's unbelievable that every week it happens, and it happened again. Can't wait to tell you what I found at Costco this week. Coming to you from the Costco Ho. Hey, subject number 4 tonight is about kitchen tools, specifically like a must-have kitchen gadget. We're going to talk about that. I got a recommendation for you. And then finally, tonight, a discussion of herbs and spices. And that's for people that are interested in not only cooking, but specifically broadening their palate, broadening their repertoire, So a lot of stuff that I have to talk to you about and recommend in terms of herbs and spices and that kind of thing that you might not be familiar with. Excited to do that. Bentley, if you're interested, feel free to call in. I'm going to assume that the system works. I'm going to give you an 800 number. If you want to kick in, feel free. I'm at 800-508-5431. Got it? 800-508-5431. Glad to take your comments or questions. Let's start off, though, with this article that I found. And it's credible. I mean, Time Out New York, okay, is the publication. They specialize in local. Obviously, Time Out New York is the version that specializes in what's going down here. And they have a list of 100 of the essential New York food. I'm not going to go to all of them. That'll take us forever. But let me just grab a couple and comment on them. One shows up as the hot dog at Nathan's Famous. Now, what I want to say is you can get a good hot dog pretty much anywhere in the country and for that matter, in a whole lot of the world. The thing that's special, I suppose, is having it really at kind of the Nathan's on the boardwalk over there in Brooklyn with the mist and the smell of the sea coming at you, and knowing that you're eating it at the place where they run that annual how many of these things can you eat that Kobayashi guy wins. I mean, it's a good hot dog. It may not even be the best in the world, but sure, it's part of the of the New York experience. Meatballs in marinara at Rayo's. Well, hey, here's the situation there, right? Nobody's going to argue with meatballs. And I bet you that the meatballs at Rayo's are fantastic, but I also bet you that you can't get into Rayo's. $19 for meatballs. I have no doubt that they're going to be great meatballs. If anybody knows anybody who can get me into Rayo's, I will tell you in person it's the hardest kind of restaurant reservation in the world, and mostly is more of like a private club type of situation. This one for you, it's called the Pierogi at a place down on the in the East Village called Veselka. Now, I totally agree with this. And here's what Time Out says. Have you ever been drunk? Question mark. Have you ever stumbled through the East Village? If you answered yes to either of these questions, you know why Veselka's Ukrainian dumplings make the list. 4 of them for $7. If you're not familiar with pierogi, they are your Ukrainian-style dumplings. So they're these beautiful puff balls, of handmade dough. You have the choice of having them either fried or even boiled, and they're not going to hurt you either way. And you could fill them with potato. You may want to go with cheese. You may want to go even sweet potato. There's a sauerkraut and mushroom option. Somebody must have gotten into somebody else's brain down there, because I see an option here that very contemporary, arugula and goat cheese. I'm not going to... anyway, there's also short rib pierogi. And they'll boil them or they'll steam them, and they come served with sautéed onions, applesauce, and sour cream. And hello, you want to go on a food tour with me? I'm taking you down to Veselka. Love that. Here's one at the high end, your mutton chop at Keen's Steakhouse. Now, Keen's Steakhouse is classic New York, and I gravitate to the classics, to the places that have been around for a long time and are still keeping up super high level of food. Keen's Steakhouse in the West 30s is just beautiful. The mutton chop, however, is special because you can't get that in a lot of places, right? You can go to a steak restaurant and you get steak and you can get lamb. But mutton is kind of like, it's older than lamb. It's a sheep that's older than lamb. So if you like lamb, you probably will like mutton. It's like lamb with a little bit more lamminess, if you know what I'm saying. It's not inexpensive, right? It's going to cost you $60. But the place is unbelievable. It's just like multiple rooms. It's a collection of like old pipes that are like stuck into the ceiling. I just love Keen's, and I'm super happy, having a mutton chop over there. Loved it. That's a good call. New York cheesecake at Junior's. Well, I'm sure there's a whole lot of good New York cheesecake that you can have in this town. What I would say is Junior's is good. I'm not a cheesecake dude. But yeah, sure. It's over in Brooklyn. And if you like cheesecake and you come to New York, that's certainly one of our classics. Pork buns at the Nam Wah Tea Parlor. Place is like 100 years old, the Nam Wah Tea Parlor. So I'm a fan, in Chinatown. And if you're not familiar, and most of you are by now, a pork bun is a thing of beauty. Like a bun that's soft and maybe even slightly sweet, and it's stuffed with some roast pork and some caramelized onions, and then they bake the dough, and then it's just such beautiful eating. And I have no argument with Nam Wah Tea Parlor, but recently I was at the name of that place. Brought it over from I'm going to forget the name of the place, but yeah, I've had some great pork buns. You can get them throughout Chinatown. And what's the name of that place down on 4th Avenue and 10th Street? I don't remember, but I had, a totally superior pork bun. What a great product. So Nam Wah is certainly an option, and there are others. Here's one that could not be more wrong, coming to you from this Time Out article. Black and white cookie at 11 Madison Park. Let me tell you why that is so wrong. First of all, they aren't really black and white cookies. It's just what they call them because they wanted to do something clever and New Yorky. They're actually cakes with frosting and multiple colors, and the only way you're getting them is as part of the tasting menu, which is $315. Let me explain to you that that's not necessary. It's not actually a black and white cookie. However, there is a black and white cookie in this city that is it's worth a special visit, but I report it to you with a heavy heart because it's like a death in the family. There's a bakery on the Upper East Side. It's called, of Manhattan, it's called Glazer's, Glaser apostrophe S. If anybody ever said to me that they wanted to have a black and white cookie, I just wouldn't have any doubt. There's only one place in the world that I would take them. It's that outstanding. That's at Glazer's. They've been baking at Glazer's in this same place, by the way, for 102 years. This is the third generation of bakers at Glazer's, and kind of place where you walk in, you're overcome by the smell. I mean, you could walk into a whole lot of bakeries and smell goodness, but when you're doing baking in the same place for 102 years, believe me when I tell you, it's not like the other bakeries, man. This is some magic. This is going to be when they, I'm sad to say it, but when they tear the place down, because that's coming, it's still going to smell like a bakery. It's in the wood, you know what I mean? It's just unbelievable. And you could go in there, yes, and you could have a beautiful apple or cherry turnover, and have a great cake. And I don't know, people are excited about the prune Danish. I'm not a prune dude, so I don't care. But that black and white cookie, man, that is the best in the world. This is the high temple of black and white cookies. And in June or July of this year, Glazer's is officially going out of business. Literally like a deaf New York food family, but let's get them while they can. Let's get them while we can, people. Black and white cookie. It's going to be at Glazer's, not at 11 Madison Park. Now, here's another listing for you from this article. The pizza pie at Patsy's Pizzeria. And what I can tell you, because it's up in East Harlem, and I was there within the last month, is that the pizza they're making up at Patsy's, and they've been making it there a long time, is still incredible. What I think is fair to say about pizza is that we got a lot of good pizza here in New York. Well, I'll tell you why later. It's not only because we have, an Italian community that's been making it. Everybody's making pizza these days. It's actually related to the water here. But the truth of the matter is, you can get great pizza these days at a lot of places, right? You can go to Rhode Island in Providence and have great pizza. You can go to New Haven, Connecticut, and have killer pizza. You can go to Arizona and have great pizza, California pizza. So what I'm saying is, it's not that that New York has any monopoly whatsoever on pizza. That we happen to have an awful lot of good pizza, and so don't let anybody fool you, by the way, and say that one pizza is better than the next. I mean, Patsy's is great, right? But there are 10, 12, 15, pizzerias in this city that easily could call themselves the best, and Patsy's up there happens to be one of them. Oysters at the Grand Central Oyster Bar and Restaurant in Grand Central Terminal. I could not agree more. Not just for oysters, but for the experience. Another old school New York classic. You go to the Oyster Bar. And if it were up, this is the place, in fact, when I have friends coming in from out of town and they go, take me out to somewhere, I go to like the classic, New York places. I'll take them to the Oyster Bar. I won't sit at a regular table, though. I like actually sitting at the Oyster Bar itself, where then you can slurp down any one of, I don't know, a dozen or 2 dozen oysters that they have shipped in every day. You have your choice. You might have a nice glass of Sancerre or a Pinot Gris or whatever, and then right there at that same seat that you're slurping oysters down, just like one after the other, East Coast, West Coast, wherever they're coming in from. You can see these guys making what they call pan roasts. Not going to kill a lot of time on it, but I will tell you this, man. You sit at the Oyster Bar there at Grand Central, and while you're having your oysters, you order up an oyster pan roast or a clam pan roast, and all types of stuff goes into the pan. And what comes at you, and I mean, when I say all types of stuff, I mean it's going to be your sauce, and what comes at you is this stew, a redolent of like the sea, and creamy, and these perfectly cooked oysters or clams or whatever you put in it. It is magic. God, is that good. Fried chicken at the Momofuku Noodle Bar. I am not going to argue with fried chicken that David. I'm not going to argue with anything that David Chang makes, and I love Korean food and I love Korean fried chicken. But if you're coming out with me for fried chicken, you don't have to necessarily go to Momofuku. we're going to be going uptown. We got some great fried chicken in this city. And you can get, look, let's face it, you can get great fried chicken in the South and all over this country, but it might be a surprise to some people coming in from out of town. You want some good fried chicken? We've got it. We've got it. Everything Bagel. Again, there's more than one place to get a bagel. Everybody has their favorites. Everything Bagel is fantastic. Sesame is good. There's 1,000 good bagels, and there's a whole lot of places to have them. And again, it's the same thing with the pizza. The reason that the bagels here stand out is because one of the key ingredients to making the bagel dough, and it's the same thing with the pizza, the water. And it oftentimes surprises people to know that when it comes to the municipal water supply, New York City and the boroughs, all the 5 boroughs of New York, are blessed with some of the finest drinking water in the country. And I say this with no disrespect for the other locations that I'm going to mention, but you know, if you're in Florida, if you're in California, I am sorry to say, you just don't have great tap water. New York City, my friends, such great tap water that we drink it. Actually, it's going to show up on the it shows up here on the timeout list as one of the things that you have to have. You come to New York, but we have great tap water here, and it makes a difference. Some of the products, some of the foods that we make, including your bagels and including your pizza. Frozen hot chocolate at Serendipity 3. Yes, no argument. Sure, it's a tourist place, and sure you're going to wait online. And the answer is, you know what? For a frozen hot chocolate, it's worth it. I mean, it's just a great. I don't even know how to describe a frozen hot chocolate because I haven't had one in so long. And let me say chocolate for the record so that you know that I'm not saying it my way. But, man, yeah, it's liquid gold sucked up through a straw. I don't know. It's like texturally, it's just so beautiful. It's just at you, chocolatey, and like they use multiple kinds of chocolate and icy and creamy and all that fresh whipped cream on top. I'll tell you what, man, not right now. So again, here's Pizza Pie Lucali in Brooklyn. Mark Iacono, however can't tell you how Mark pronounces Iacono, but probably like that, has been doing this thing for 12 years now, and the guy's making a brilliant pie. But that, again, that's one of 12 or 15. You know, people who know New York pizza will tell you, you're going to go to Brooklyn, you can go to DeFara, you can go to Titono's, you can go to Grimaldi's, right? Just off the top of my head. I mean, there's just a ton of great pizza in this city. What else we got here? Oh yeah, sure. The pastrami sandwich at Katz's. Hey, you know, I didn't eat a lot of pastrami growing up. I can't explain why. I mean, I went to delis. I had corned beef. Had the stuff that you get at a delicatessen. We got a lot of those here, but the pastrami sandwich at Katz's is something else. Now, I just want to say again, all due respect to other places, you can get decent pastrami. You know, there are people out in Los Angeles who's going to tell you that they have pastrami that's better than the pastrami at Katz's delicatessen. I would say I'd be willing to put that into a blind taste test, because pastrami that you get at Katz's, and again, one of those places on the Lower East Side has been doing it for like, I don't know, forever, right? And you can go there at all hours. But, I mean, the pastrami sandwich at Katz's, that's some heaven on earth. Let me just give you this hint, by the way. If you go there with me, you'll have to understand that you're not having anything with that pastrami sandwich other than some of that brown deli mustard, and you have to have it on rye. Any other way is a deviation and is an illness. Stop it. Pastrami sandwich at Katz's, you're having it on rye with some deli mustard. We might pop in first and go with the hot dog, right? Because they have a decent hot dog. I mean, I have no problem sitting down. You have a dog while you're waiting for the pastrami sandwich to be made. Maybe some cream soda, cherry soda, celery soda. I mean, cool and different and weird. But that's one of the things you would have down there at Katz's. And if you didn't feel like having a sandwich, it's enormous, right? One sandwich is enough for 2 people. Like, you could have pastrami and eggs. That would not hurt you. But yeah, pastrami at Katz's is a thing of beauty, whether you have it in the middle of the day or after 13 cocktails at late at night. Pastrami sandwich at Katz's is one of the things that you simply must have. I tell people, they go, what are the 3 things I'm having when I come to New York? One of them is a pastrami sandwich at Katz's Delicatessen. What else they got on this list here? Yeah, sushi. We got plenty of that. That's good. You know, the halal guys. No disrespect, but I'm sorry. I have no problem eating off a truck. But the last couple of times I tried it, I was not happy. Dark and Light at McSorley's. Yeah, the McSorley's Old Ale House, we like that. You go in for a beer. You can also go to, I'm a big fan of the Old Town Bar. But again, that's just going into a place that's been there forever and you're going in for a drink, a beer, whatever. And certainly McSorley's Old Ale House is good. That's Civil War era pub, man. Old Town's been there forever. These are great places. The Nutella Babka at Bread's Bakery. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Put me on. Let me have that. I hearken back to last week's episode on what would be your death row meal. I didn't mention Nutella babka, but now that I'm looking at it, yeah. Let me have some Nutella babka and then hit the switch. Falafel at Mamoon's Falafel, also in the village. $5, $4 of happiness. I totally agree. Good falafel sandwich. You can't get that everywhere. On this side of the Atlantic, but I'll tell you what, we got a good one down there at Mamoon's Falafel. Tiramisu at Venero's. Let me tell you something about Venero's. Wait, and before I do that, let me just answer. Sorry for the interruption. Tiramisu at Venero's. My Italian friends will, who know to go to Venero's. Again, another one of those places. Been in New York for a long, long time. And I'm not a tiramisu guy. But what I will say is that I'm happy to go in there and just have like biscotti, because I'm a biscotti dude. But anyway, tiramisu Venero's is a great place. What else? Veal palm at Carbone. Sure, it's great. It's also $67, so it wouldn't be on the trip you're taking around with me. Herring at Russ and Daughters. Russ and Daughters, Lower East Side, appetizing. If you don't like herring, you're not going to like this herring. If you like herring, you're going to be impressed with the herring down there, whether it's the Holland herring or the herring in cream sauce with onions. Beautiful thing. People who know me know that I would have the whitefish salad if I were there. Because I have a whitefish salad problem, otherwise known as addiction. If there were a self-help group for whitefish salad, I would be. Hello, my name is Rob. Matzo ball soup at Barney Greengrass. Sure, you could go for matzo ball soup at Barney Greengrass, but if you go with me to Barney Greengrass, we're going to have some lox, eggs, and onions. I'm there for breakfast, not matzo ball soup, although I'm sure it's good. Bloody Mary at the King Cole Bar. Yeah, if we're going out for cocktails, we can go to the King Cole Bar. That's elegant. It's also $25 for your martini. Same thing over at the 21 Club. I would go there for a drink if I wanted to wear a sport jacket. We have some classic bars in town, and those are a couple of them. And what else they have on this list here? Yeah, key lime pie and eggs and bistro. Yeah, we have burgers, sure. Corner bistro is good. What else do they have on this list here that's interesting? Mofongo. Oh, yeah. And here it is, what I was mentioning to you before. Tap water. Here's what it says in your Time Out article. How dare you buy a bottle of water in this city? Our tap water, 90% of it from the Catskills, 125 miles away, is exquisite. 10 years ago, a company even bottled our tap and sold it on the open market. And look what it says here. And our bagels and pizza will always be that much better because of it. Anything else here? Soup dumplings. Yes, I'm a fan. Right now, Shanghai Cafe Deluxe, that's Chinatown. The greatest, we have some great Chinese food in Queens. Queens has turned out to be really one of the most diverse eating cities in the world. I mean, I have friends who'll take you on a tour of Queens. That'll blow your mind. And soup dumplings are amazing if you haven't had them. Again, big fat puffs of dough, steamed, and then when you break into them, soup comes out and burns every part of your tongue and mouth. The knish at Jonas Schimmel, sure, have a nice knish. Chicken and waffles at Sylvia. Yeah, I totally agree. We got a lot of good fried chicken uptown. The porterhouse at Peter Luger's, you're not going to get any argument from me. A lot of the steak restaurants these days have multiple branches, whether you're talking about the Palm or Smith & Wollensky or Morton's and all of those guys. That doesn't make it necessarily bad. But for my money, if you're in Manhattan, I would take you to Sparks for some great steak and some beautiful red wine. But, right over the Williamsburg Bridge, my friends, is Peter Luger. Since about 1887, these people are putting out, they call it the Temple of Beef. These people are putting out what is one of the great pieces of prime beef in the world, 44 ounces of it. It's made for two people. It's sliced. Before they bring it out, they hit it with like just like a ladle full of, like, I don't know, some combination of fat and butter. And before you even have the steak, right, you go in, your first order is a plate of bacon. I mean, think about it, right? You go into Luger's, you have a plate of bacon, you have a giant porterhouse for two that I don't know, it just melts in your mouth. Like, if you like meat, I mean, if you're a vegetarian, you're horrified and you're tuning out right now. If you like meat, holy wow, this is where you want to go. Some hash browns, some home fries on the side, hash browns. All right, look, I think we've spent enough time here on what you can get in this city. And if you want me to take you around one day on that tour, count me in. Oh yeah, yeah, sure. The yellowfin tuna at Le Bernardin. Let me throw one out to Le Bernardin just because on Monday, what is that, 2 nights ago? Yeah, I'm over at an event at Le Bernardin, and that I was invited to, because if you go in there on your own, your price fixed dinner is going to be $160. But I had a friend in recently from Portland, Oregon, and he said, "Hey Rob, if I wanted to kind of blow out my budget, like go to a place that's fancy, you know, I know you sent me out for pizza and bagels and that pastrami over at Katz's, but if I want to go out and, you know, blow some money, I said, you know, Le Bernardin for sure is one of those places. 20 years they're putting out essentially the best fish and seafood that you can get in this city. Not just my opinion, everybody's opinion. And I'm there on Monday night and I'm eating, and it's still as good as it ever was. Eric Repair is the chef. He's a lovely human. Lovely guy, but he's also just gifted. And, you know, as I said to him, and I would say to you, the hallmark of greatness about the consistency of quality over time. I mean, sustaining it, right? There are restaurants that are great for a year, for 2 years, maybe even for 4 or 5. This is 20 years at the top in arguably one of the most competitive restaurant cities in the world. So congratulations to you. And if you want to blow some big bucks but have an amazing meal, nobody's going to argue with Le Bernardin. And my last one, or two, because I can't help, I'm just scrolling through the list here, but the rotisserie chicken at Malecon. And the reason I can tell you about the rotisserie chicken at Malecon is because I have it once a week. The reason I have it once a week is because they're close enough that they deliver to me. And I don't know what they put on it. Like, I can't tell you the exact spice mix, but like, you take a good chicken and you put it in a good mix and you put it on a rotisserie. I'll eat it once a week, only for the last dozen years. And finally, my friends, a bag of peanuts at Citi Field. No argument from me whatsoever. I think one of the great joys in life. And frankly, I mean, the Yankees are good. The Mets are marginal. Depends on what year. But I'm not actually going to see the baseball. Take me out to the ball game, my friends, because I'm having a beer. Oh, beer here! And I'm having some peanuts. And why? Because number one, I love peanuts. And number two, I confess to the joy that comes with eating a peanut, dumping the shells right on the ground in front of you. I mean, it's like, that's just the way it's done. Don't feel bad about that. You have a beer, you're having some peanuts, and you're eating them, and you're dumping the shells and all the mess on the ground. God, I wish I could do that at home. Beautiful thing. So that's a review of some of your New York City classics. If you did try to call in, by the way, my apologies. I see the ringing. I just didn't grab it fast enough. Let us talk now about tipping, and I mentioned the tipping because it came up on some type of social media thing this week, and it reminded me that I was kind of bugged. Same reason that my Facebook friends was bugged. All right, let's see. Let's answer the phone and see what happens. I can't promise anything here.
Grasshopper, call for extension 5 to accept. Press 1.
Okay, that must.
To send the voicemail, press 2.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see if that was at work.
It's Mitch.
Well, you're on the air. Let's put it that way.
Hang on.
Well, oh, sure.
Can you you hear me?
I can hear you. The whole world can hear you at the moment because you are literally on the air.
Very nice. Awesome. How are you?
I am. I'm super.
I gotta say, I feel like they missed the mark with the Mamoon's falafel on that list.
In what way?
The falafel of Mamoon's is pretty good,
but
I gotta tell you, the lamb shawarma is where it's at.
Oh, okay. I like the. I like where you're going. I like where you're going.
Yeah.
Tell me about lamb shawarma.
You get some hummus.
Right.
You get hummus on the sandwich.
Right.
And then the thing that makes Mamoon's incredibly unique is their hot sauce, which is really hot.
And the lamb is, what are they, like slicing the lamb off a giant skewer?
Yeah, it goes around in a little circle and you watch it get crispy and brown, and yeah, you're waiting patiently. You're usually maybe, a few drinks in.
Right.
So it's worth the wait. And then it's like this juicy, succulent lamb with this, there's a little bit of this texture, this kind of creamy texture with the hummus.
Right.
And they throw in some lettuce and some tomatoes and some onions, and then you got, it's in this pita, and then you take that hot sauce. Oh my God.
Yeah, that sounds like some good eating. I would have no problem with that.
And then the other one that I noticed on that list that I think, I think there's a misnomer sometimes with, you think, oh, it's the best food around, but there's an experience that one gets when they go to Sammy's Romanian.
Oh my God! You know what?
I noticed that Sammy's was on the list.
You know what? Sammy's.
Sammy's?
Yeah, Sammy's is on the list, and I just didn't have. I spent so long on it that I decided not to go further with it. Sammy's is on the list for their chopped liver because they make it at the table. Now let me tell you something. By the way, I am a fan of chopped liver. I would go there for the chopped liver, but just like at Mamoon's, right? When you go to Sammy's, you're basically going for the number one, for the totality of the experience down there because it's crazy good. Number two, they're putting a bottle of vodka on the table in ice. Then you're gonna have your chopped liver made right there, and then you're gonna have that giant tenderloin steak that leans over the plate, and they also put that chicken fat. A bottle of chicken fat melted schmaltz on the table. You've reminded me, by the way. I'm hungry now, and now you've reminded me that I got to get myself back to Sammy's because that is a classic New York eating experience. Thank you for that.
Well, and where else can you get blocks of ice filled with vodka?
No, there aren't. This is a classic New York experience, and I just didn't have a chance to get to it on the list because I wanted to move.
Yeah.
To the next subject. So thanks for checking in, and I'm sorry I missed the first call around. It's just that it's a technical thing. But let me I'm going to head over now and discuss.
I love what you do.
Well, thank you, man.
What you're doing.
Thank you, and thanks for calling in. I will appreciate it. See you then. Right. Okay. Well, there you go. That's some high tech work right there. Anyway, I was on to the subject of tipping because a friend mentions on Facebook, I think it was, that he made a call-in order to do a takeout. He ordered some food, goes to pick it up, and picks it up, and then he gets what he called the stink eye. He got the evil eye from whoever handed him the food, apparently because he didn't leave a tip. And I kind of related. Here's where I'm going with this, right? Tipping has changed in that we're being asked to tip more often, more money at more places than ever before. Now, I will preface the conversation with this. I tip. I like tipping. People would probably, there were people that would probably accuse me of maybe, over tipping. I don't know that I'm an over tipper. I believe in tipping. I grew up with tipping. I go out to restaurants, partially for a living. And a lot of the take home that these people make is from the tips. But I could kind of relate to him when he said, I didn't know that I was supposed to be tipping when I picked up, my takeout order. So I have some information for you. I picked up some tipping statistics, right? So it's the percentage of customers who tip, right, by situation, right? So in terms of tipping a waiter, that's almost universal. That's 99.5% of people tip waiters. We all do that. Like restaurant deliveries, 95% of people tip. and the average tip is, I don't know, low tippers give 2, and average tippers give 2 to 3, and high tippers give 4, or sometimes 10 or 20% of the bill. And then it says right here, if you don't tip, in both of these situations, you are the worst. Because tipping makes up a huge part of their salary, right? And you tip more if, like, somebody delivers to you in bad weather. But when it comes to restaurant takeout, it turns out that only 35% of customers leave a tip. Low tippers give nothing. Average tippers give, maybe like $1. High tippers are given like 10 to 20%. And if you don't tip, it says fine. Bartenders, of course, 98% tipping. Barista. Okay, so that's 60% people will tip a barista. Cab driver in this city obviously is 90%. Your hotel bellman, of course, your that kind of thing. So, my whole issue was that tipping is all good, but I just wonder if sometimes I'm spending a lot more on tips than I ever have before, right? Because like it used to be when you took an Uber, you just took an Uber. Now there's a whole, tip on adding thing. Are you a cheap tipper? A study reveals where and how much you should be tipping. So the tipping sweet spot, this is from a research report done by Princeton Survey International, June 2017. So this is contemporary. Did I say contemporary? Well, this is very current. That's what I meant. Tipping sweet spot at restaurants, 16 to 20%, right? Here was one. Republican men who live in the Northeast and use a credit card or debit card are the best tippers, the survey finds. Now, at first I see that and I'm going, I gotta be honest with you, that's kind of a surprise to me. It makes no sense to me. And then I realized Republican men who live in the Northeast ain't tipping with their money. That's coming off somebody's, business account. Of course they can afford to leave a big fat tip. They're not paying for it. Men tend to be more generous restaurant tippers than women. I'm not sure I believe that, but women are better when it comes to hotel housekeeping. Baristas, hairstyles. Well, I can prize on hairstyles. I'm going to have a sip of red wine. Some more data, 15 to 20%. Until recently, most travelers did not tip hotel maids, by the way. That's changed. In 2011, only 30% of hotel guests actually tipped housekeepers in hotels, which I do now. But now, only 30% of Americans don't tip maids when they go to hotels, so that's changed. The thing that's changed, though, is the ratio, is the amount of the tip. Like 15% was standard. Now it's like closer to 20, and things keep going up. Expectation goes up. Wait staff thinks that they should be getting like maybe 20 or 25 or even 30%, but it doesn't make sense. Like the tipping rate is predicated like this. I know that there's a cost of living increase, but as the meal price goes up, the tipping doesn't have to, right? Because like if you had a $50 bill, right, in the old days, and you were leaving a 15 to 20% tip, that's $7.50 to $10 is your tip. Now that same meal that was $50 is $100, and so your tip is 15 to 20. So the idea that the ratio is going up, that the rate of the tip is going up, doesn't make sense. And now the median tip is 19.5%. Here's one for you that I thought was funny. Tipping was once considered demeaning and anti-American. Oh man, if that were only the case. Pete Wells, New York Times. It is irrational, outdated, ineffective, confusing, prone to abuse, and sometimes discriminatory. People who take care of us in restaurants deserve a better system, and so do we. Tipping. The thing about tipping, by the way, I will say, it is unique to the United States of America. Let me tell you something. There are 12 countries where you basically don't have to tip. You ready? China, you don't have to tip. French Polynesia, as if it wasn't beautiful enough. They don't expect tips over there. Japan's not big on tipping. They give such good service. It's so standard that they don't expect a tip, even though restaurant people might appreciate a little bit. Not a lot of tipping in Korea. Not a lot in Hong Kong. Even in Switzerland, they don't do a lot of tipping. Your Australians only now recently are taking, they add a 10% tax on your bill, right? So they don't necessarily expect a tip on top of that. Belgium, where you're going to go have some mussels and fries and beer. Oh my God. Belgium. I don't know. All I'm saying is these people make some great beer. Brazil, not huge on tipping. Happy to get a little bit of it. And that varies by country. That's exactly the point I make. I am now looking at a map, right? And the map is restaurant tipping around the world. Here's how the map works. No joke, right? The map is broken up, and it's like, this is serious. This is Restaurant Tipping Gratuity World Map. It was created literally last August. It's a Wikipedia entry, and the map shows tipping customs at restaurants in different countries, ranging from no tip at all, like insulted if you tip, to no tips at all, surprised or confused if you tip, to no tip at all, how are they phrasing this? To no tip at all, but neutral or grateful if it happens. And so as you look around the map, it's everything from don't tip us till you've insulted us to, round up the bill in certain countries, 5 to 10% tip, but not even expected. 5 to 10% we expect. There's a whole, Russian kind of thing there. Then you have, less than 10% expected. Then you have 10 to 15%, but not expected. Then you have 10 to 15% tipping expected. 15 to 20 expected. Okay, guess what? 15 to 20. It's only one country in the world. I don't even remember how many countries there are. However many countries there are, there's only one country in the world on this map painted the color of 15 to 20% and expected. It's the United States of America. There's not a place on earth, not a country in the world, aside from the good old United States of America, where a tip at the level of 15 to 20% is expected. There's only a few countries where, we expect 10 to 15, but man, the only place where the big money is expected and expected all the time is the United States of America. Tipping. I don't know what to say. I don't have a resolution for it, but like I said, I like tipping. But I don't know. I somehow still don't feel obligated. I'm with the 35%. No, I'm with the 65% who don't feel obligated when I call in an order for pickup, to add money to that. And I'm not trying to be cheap. It's just that unless, right, somebody's putting together a complicated order, or it's for a whole lot of people, or it's whatever. I'm not saying there's never a reason, but I agree with kind of the surprise that I should be expected to tip all the time. Yeah, so there's that. Next up on the list, my friends, is the subject of, sorry for the paper shuffling, but this week at Costco, brought to you by me, the Costco Ho. I don't know how they do it. That each week there's something else at Costco which attracts me like no other lover. And this week I pop into the Costco, as I do, and come across a jar, big old jar, like 33.8 or 9 ounces. You know what a 33? A lot of stuff in a 33.9 ounce glass jar. And if you folks know Costco, I'm going to tell you you're going to want this product. And I don't know that it's available universally. That's the thing about Costco. I may be able to get Costco. Sorry, I may be able to get it here in New York, and you can get it in Queens, you can get it in Brooklyn, you can get it in Jersey and Connecticut. I have no idea how their distribution works. You may not be able to find what I'm going to tell you where you are, and I'm sad for you because it's something called olive salad. Solestado is the name of the company, and it sounds Spanish. It's not actually made in Greece, and it's a muffaletta olive salad. Now, let me tell you what's in this stuff, because it's magic. It's just too great. It's green and Kalamata olives. It's got some sunflower oil in there. Got red peppers, cauliflower, carrots, celery, pepperoncini, garlic flakes, capers, red wine vinegar, parsley, oregano, black and red pepper flakes, sea salt, with a note, may contain pits or pit fragments. 3 tablespoons, 50 calories. I looked up online to see if I could find Solestado muffaletta olive salad, and I did. Found it for $24.99, and I can't tell, honestly, if that's for 1 jar of this stuff or 2, because maybe it comes as a 2-pack. Costco, $7.99. They're going to be running out. They're going to have to order more. I hope they're working hard in Greece because this stuff is magic. And you say to me, like, why? Like, who cares, right? And the answer is, let's start off with sandwiches, right? So I was in New Orleans. Where are we? We're in March. Yeah, I was in New Orleans a couple of weeks ago. New Orleans has amazing food, and some of the amazing food includes two of the best sandwiches that you can possibly get your hands on. One is the po' boy. The po' boy is a thing of genius, and if you don't know, it's like a hero sandwich. I guess we would call it a hero or a sub or a grinder, whatever you want to call it. The fact is that it always has something in it, like some kind of meat, like roast beef or seafood, often fried seafood, like fried shrimp or fried oysters. But the thing is, they serve it on this kind of baguette that they have in New Orleans, this French bread that they have there. But what's cool about their bread for the po' boy is that it's fluffy in the middle and yet crispy on the crust. So the most important thing of any sandwich, and there's a lot of great sandwiches in the world, is not only it's the bread and the relationship of the ingredients to the bread. Po' boy is a genius sandwich, but if you're in New Orleans, and I had mine, by the way, I had more than one, frankly. I go for the fried oyster or fried shrimp po' boy. It comes kind of what they call dressed, right? So it has some lettuce, some tomatoes, some pickles, some mayo. You want to throw on some other stuff, some hot sauce, whatever. It's genius eating. And yet, there's enough. And by the way, if I only had one sandwich in New Orleans, it would be the po' boy, because the po' boy will show up for me. That fried oyster po' boy will show up as one of my top 10 sandwiches in the world. But they have another sandwich down in New Orleans called the muffaletta. And I'm going to be, I'm going to tell you straight, muffaletta is a brilliant sandwich. I had one while I was there because I could not have one. And the muffaletta is also a genius sandwich. It wouldn't show up on my top 10 worldwide sandwiches, but it'll come in between 11 and 15. It's a beautiful sandwich. They use a round kind of Italian bread that has sesame seeds on it. It's like, again, soft on the inside. It's got a beautiful chew. And what does it have on it? It has on it some Genoa salami, some capicola, capigol, right? Mortadella, sliced mozzarella, some provolone, maybe some soppressata, right? So it's like, kind of Italian sliced, deli meats and cheese. And the thing that kind of brings it all together is the olive salad. The olive salad, man, with all those ingredients I just told you. Put that on that sandwich, and that is genius. But I'll tell you something. This stuff that I found at Costco, this muffaletta olive salad, is so damn good that even if you don't have a half a dozen, Italian salami, soppressata ingredients, you get yourself a nice toasty piece of baguette. You hit it up with a hit of this olive salad. I mean, it's genius. And you look online, and people are like, like Amazon ran out of the stuff, and like the comments are, we get it back, restock it. That's not fair. People putting it on salads, they're putting it on burgers, putting it on whatever. So this week at Costco, I mentioned to you the muffaletta olive salad. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. While we're on the subject, beautiful things. I always like to shout out my those who support me in what I do, and that's going to include my friends over at Biggie's Cracked Toffee, biggiescrackedtoffee.com, because that stuff is fantastic. Toffee is just beautiful combination of sugary and buttery, and then it's topped with like a chocolatey and flavored with some damn. biggiescrackedtoffee.com. Find that. That is just beautiful stuff. And another shout out to Fresh Flowers, FlourS, LLC.com. Why? Because Fresh Flowers is genius food. I could tell you that because I'm eating, as we speak, some of their rugelach. Now, that may not be familiar to people all over the world, but rugelach is like a flaky dough that surrounds nuts and cinnamon and sugar, and you have a choice of maybe having it in apricot or chocolate or raspberry on the inside. It's just beautiful food. And what they do out at the Fresh Flowers, which I like so much, is they package it all up for you. You know what I mean? So you pick, maybe you want a cookie, maybe you want to try these rugelach, maybe you want a blondie or biscotti, and you choose the package that it's going to go in. You choose the ribbon that you're going to send it in, and it's like, every color on the rainbow. You choose a personal bag, right? And so that bag is happily ever after for married people, celebrating, eat, drink, and be married. So it's for bridal occasions, it's for people having babies, it's for your 50th birthday, it's blah, 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 whatever the celebration. And then they send that out to you, and it's a beautiful thing. So freshflowersllc.com for some beautiful product, and that struggle up myself in there. It's just outstanding. I see that we're late on time, so quickly I'm going to skip the whole bit that we had planned here on spices. Let's bring spices back next time so that instead I can tell you about one essential kitchen tool. Of course, there are 5 or 6 or 8 great tools to use if you're going to be in the kitchen. I'm big on the instant read thermometer. Obviously, you want to have a good knife and a pot and pan. That all goes without saying. I like having the, I like being able to grate, so you don't have a professional grater. But I'm shouting out this week for scissors, or what are called your kitchen shears, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because, you need to have a great pair of kitchen shears in the kitchen. I'll tell you how I use them. You buy some herbs, your cilantro, parsley, your oregano, your tarragon, whatever your herbs are, your rosemary. And I use the scissors to clip the herbs. Nice. Basil. Good. Then I started noticing people eating pizza with it, which I thought at first was weird, and then I realized sometimes you don't want a whole slice, and you don't have a pizza cutter, or you don't have a sharp knife handy. I'll tell you what, those kitchen shears come in handy. They come in handy. They're good for that. I'll tell you when else I use them. You're better off always buying a whole chicken than buying it cut up. When I say better off, I mean from the standpoint of, certainly of price. I like roasting a whole chicken. But, look, you're going to buy it by the pieces you can. Who knows me, knows that I'll buy 1,000 fries at a time. But I'll buy a whole chicken, so I'll use the kitchen shears, sharp, professional kitchen shears. Cut the chicken up beforehand. And I don't even mean cutting every piece off. Like, you don't have to go that far. You cut the back out. So it's called like butterfly, the chicken, right? Or spatchcocking it, where you open it up. And the opening, so I use the kitchen shears to open up the back of the chicken and then lay it flat, season both sides. You put it in the oven at high heat. And so the advantage of that is not only that more surface area is exposed to the heat, so you get a whole lot more kind of crispy skin. And because it's laid out flat like that, and you flip it once halfway through the cooking, it actually cooks in faster time. So I like my kitchen shears, cut up chicken, or anything that you want to cut, frankly, and I like my kitchen shears. Now, we're going to clean them after we cut up that raw chicken. We're going to clean them real well, kitchen things, and then we're going to cut the whole roast chicken into pieces. I don't even use a knife when my chicken comes out of the oven. I grab my kitchen shears and cut them with those. Super tool to have in the kitchen. And to be honest with you, I've also used it. Every week I get some package in the mail from FedEx and I can't find my scissors. I go into the kitchen. I cut up a corrugated box with my kitchen shears. So these are multitasking, multi-purpose tools. And the reason I'm mentioning it to you is because a really good pair went on sale this week, which you could pick up at Amazon. They are, and by the way, if you want to find, like an easy link to it, go to my website, shortortodad.com. That's shortortodad.com. And at the very left-hand top of my website, there's a little thing that says Rob Recommends. And next to that, it says a very useful kitchen tool, right? So, very useful kitchen tool, and you will see there a pair of Henkel's International Kitchen Shears. I think normally these things are like $39. They're $19.95. You're crazy not to own a pair of kitchen shears for $19.95, my friends. And you can catch the link to it if you want on shortortodad.com, where I recommend a very useful kitchen tool. with the remaining time, I'm going to come back to you folks next week. I'm looking forward to that. We'll talk about some of the spices. In the meantime, I mean, there's 10. There are literally 10 spices that'll change your cooking life. It's so easy. I can't believe more people don't use more flavorings. They're so readily available, and they're so extraordinary. They do half the work for you. Before I go, I feel obliged to tell you that if you want to check out my book, it's called Short of the Dead, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free. We're talking about, I went to cooking school so that you don't have to. There's, I show you how to cook. I talk about the tools that you need, things that you want to keep in your pantry. I have 100 recipes. I would say 95 of them use 5 ingredients or less, which I think is my formula for how to get the most taste with the fewest ingredients and the least effort. And I'm also going to tell you that it's beautifully reviewed by people that I like. I mean, Gail Simmons said, what did she say? It's such a great book. I can't wait to get it for my own dad, brothers, husband, best friend, uncle, and nephew. I appreciate that. Danny Meyer, who's a great restaurateur, read the book and said, when was the last time you smiled your way through an entire cookbook? Super appreciative of the comments. It is Short Order Dead. It is available for you on Walmart.com and Barnes & Noble and, of course, Amazon. And next week, I'm coming back, people. I'm going to be back here at the same bat time, same bat channel. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock Eastern. It is the All You Can Eat podcast with me, your host, Rob Rosenthal. A pleasure to be with you, and I will look forward to returning next week at this same time to hang out with you and talk about all that you can eat. Until then, thank you, and remember this, never waste a meal.
I'm the Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon Pan Man. Ain't nothing gonna stick on